Okay, last Friday we started the book Legend together. Talked about the first chapter, read the first chapter, talked about how the setting was dystopian, talked a little bit about the characters. Today's assignment is to read chapters 2 and 3. I've also included page numbers on the slides just in case you need page numbers, because the chapters are not actually labeled with a number, so that will be helpful. So for today, I want you to read chapters 2 and 3. If you were not present and did not watch the Jaguar Live session from last Friday, you will have to do chapters 1 through 3. Okay? And then 2, answer the questions on the following slides as you read each chapter. I would recommend having the slides open and answering as you're reading. That way you can have the details in front of you. You don't have to go back and look for them later. Always give specific examples from the text when you answer the prompts, and please add page numbers to cite the text. So as always, I want you to be using the RACES format. You're going to respond to the prompt. You're going to answer the prompt. You're going to cite evidence from the text, either as paraphrases or as direct quotations. Please cite what page you found those things on, and then extend and elaborate on your answer. So each of your responses should have several sentences. So we're going to look at characterization for these couple of chapters. Chapter 2 is pages 11 through 21. Here's what you are looking for. You should know what to look for before you read. First is, what kind of person is Matthias? I know that does not look like Matthias. It might look like Matthias or Matthias, but I looked it up, and Marie Lu, the author, says it should be pronounced Matthias. How would you feel if he were responsible for you? 2, describe June. How would you feel if you were responsible for taking care of her? And then in the last box, please describe the relationship between Matthias and June. How do they act toward each other and why? So don't just tell me that they're brother and sister. Describe the way that they interact with each other. How do they talk to each other? How do they act toward each other? How do they seem to feel about each other, etc., etc. Chapter 3 is pages 22 to 34. Again, we're looking at characterization. First question is, what was Day's first crime and why did he commit it? And what does his first crime tell us about his character? Okay, it's important to think about what exactly did he do, but also why did he do it? Okay, because that tells us something about what kind of person he is. The second one is a little longer. I'm asking you to think about what we call suspension of disbelief. And if you need to look, there is a detailed example here, all right? But, oops, I'm going back. I need to go back. It won't let me. So, here in suspension of disbelief is basically when we read something that we know isn't possible in real life, but we're willing to believe it because 1, it's fiction, and 2, it makes the story more enjoyable for us. So like when we watch Superman, we know that, normally people can't fly, but he's a superhero. So we suspend our disbelief. We're like, all right, I'm willing to believe that because it makes for a good story and because I know that this is fiction anyway. Okay? So the whole prompt is this. Fiction often relies on suspension of disbelief. This is when we read something we know isn't possible in real life, but we are willing to believe it in fiction because it makes the story more enjoyable for us. After reading chapter 3, do you feel like Day is a believable character? Okay? Do you think he's a believable character, is a real human being? And to what extent do you think the author expects us to suspend our disbelief when we read about Day? Just think about the things that he is capable of doing, and how much do you have to suspend your disbelief to buy into that character as a real character? Finally, I want you to go back to our essential questions for the course when you are finished reading those 2 chapters. And I want you to choose 2 of them and respond based on what you've read so far. So this is a reiteration of our essential questions that I'm not going to read right now because you guys have seen these many times before. But I did edit number 3 to say, how can understanding how literary elements, in this case characterization and suspension of disbelief, How can understanding how literary elements are developed enhance my experience of this text? So when you think about characterization specifically, and when you think about suspension of disbelief, how do those enhance your experience? So you get to choose any 2 you want. Over here in the bubble where it says EQ, you can go ahead and just click on that and type the number of the question you're answering so that it makes more sense to me when I am reading them. Okay? So that's it for today. If you have any questions, please call, email, text, and I will be happy to help you. Bye.